Every single morning, the most powerful man on earth, the Emperor of Rome, woke up and reminded himself of one thing: today could be my last day alive. And it wasn't morbid. It was the most liberating thought he ever had. Most people run from the thought of death. Marcus Aurelius ran toward it, and that single difference is why he lived more fully than almost anyone who has ever walked this earth. You've probably seen the phrase. It's on t-shirts, tattoos, coin pendants, coffee mugs. Memento Mori, remember you will die. It's become an aesthetic, a brand. Something people put on their wall and then immediately forget while scrolling through their phone. But for the Stoics, this wasn't decoration. It was a daily discipline, a mental tool as practical as any workout routine or morning ritual. And it was far more demanding than wearing a coin around your neck. The phrase itself comes from ancient Rome. When a general returned victorious from battle, parading through the streets while crowds cheered, a servant would stand behind him in the chariot and whisper in his ear, "Memento Mori." Remember, you are mortal. Remember, this glory is temporary. Remember, you will die like everyone else. The purpose wasn't to ruin the celebration. It was to prevent the general from losing himself inside it, because the Romans understood something we've forgotten. When you believe you'll live forever, you become reckless with time, arrogant in success, and devastated by loss. But when you hold your mortality close, when you genuinely accept that every day might be the last, everything sharpens. Priorities become obvious. Pettiness falls away. And the present moment, the only moment you've ever actually had, becomes unbearably precious. Marcus didn't just think about death occasionally. He made it a practice. A structured, deliberate, daily practice. In Book 2 of the Meditations, he writes, "Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly." That's not pessimism, that's precision. He's telling himself that everything before this moment is gone, spent, irretrievable. The only thing that exists is what remains, and the question is whether you'll waste that too. In Book 6, he pushes even further. He lists the names of people who came before him. Emperors, philosophers, physicians, generals, all dead, all forgot. He writes their names almost like a chant. And then he asks, where are they now? This wasn't an exercise in despair, it was an exercise in perspective. Marcus was surrounded by people who believed they were important, senators obsessed with their legacy, generals consumed by their reputation. Marcus looked at history and saw the truth. None of it lasts, not the fame, not the power. Not even the memory of your name. Given enough time, everyone is forgotten, and rather than crushing him, this freed him. Because if nothing lasts, then the only thing that matters is how you live right now. Not what you accumulate, not what people say about you at your funeral, just this moment, this choice, this breath. Here's the part that surprises people. Thinking about death doesn't make you sad, it makes you alive. There's a psychological principle called the scarcity effect. The less of something you have, the more you value it. Think about the last day of a vacation. Suddenly every meal, every sunset, every conversation feels more vivid. Not because anything changed about the experience, but because you know it's ending. The deadline creates the value. Memento Mori applies that same principle to your entire life. When you stop pretending you have unlimited tomorrows, today becomes extraordinary. The coffee you're drinking right now becomes something worth tasting. The conversation you're having becomes worth being present for. The work in front of you becomes worth doing well because you don't know if you'll get another chance. Marcus understood this intuitively. He wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but rather he should fear never beginning to live." That's the paradox. People who avoid thinking about death are the ones most likely to waste their lives. And people who stare death in the face every morning are the ones most likely to truly live. The awareness of the end is what makes the middle meaningful. We live in a culture that has almost completely removed death from daily life. And it's costing us more than we realize. 100 years ago, people died at home. Families washed the bodies. Children attended funerals. Death was visible, present, woven into the fabric of ordinary life. You couldn't pretend it wasn't coming because you saw it regularly. Today, death happens behind closed doors, in hospitals, in nursing homes, in news headlines you scroll past without pausing. We've outsourced mortality to institutions and algorithms, and in doing so, we've lost the very thing the Stoics considered essential to living well. Because here's what death denial actually produces. It produces people who postpone everything that matters. I'll start that project next year. I'll repair that relationship when things calm down. I'll travel when I retire. I'll say the important thing later, later, always later, as if later is guaranteed. Seneca saw the same pattern in Rome and called it out directly. He said that people plan for a future they're not promised while ignoring the present they already have. We've had 2,000 years to learn this lesson, and most people still haven't. The Stoics weren't obsessed with death. They were obsessed with not wasting life, and they understood that without confronting the first, you'll never stop doing the second. So here's how you put this into practice, starting today. Marcus gave us a tool that takes 10 seconds and can redirect the entire course of your day. I call it the deathbed test. Before any decision, any commitment, any way you spend your next hour, ask this. If I were dying tomorrow, would I do this? Would I spend this evening arguing about something that won't matter next week? Would I stay in this job that's slowly hollowing me out? Would I keep avoiding the conversation I know I need to have? Would I keep scrolling instead of creating? If the answer is no, that's important information. It doesn't mean you quit everything instantly. It means you stop lying to yourself about your priorities. It means you start making decisions from clarity instead of autopilot. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He wasn't trying to scare anyone. He was trying to wake them up. Because the tragedy isn't dying. The tragedy is living your entire life as a rough draft, waiting for a final version that never comes. Here's your challenge. Set a daily alarm on your phone. Label it Memento Mori. Set it for a random time in the middle of your day when you're most likely to be on autopilot. When it goes off, pause for 30 seconds, just 30 seconds, and ask yourself one question. If this were my last day, would I be doing what I'm about to do? You don't need to change your answer every time. Some days the answer will be yes. Good, keep going. But some days the answer will be no. And on those days, the alarm just saved you from wasting another piece of a life that isn't infinite. Marcus Aurelius didn't think about death because he was depressed. He thought about death because he refused to sleepwalk through the only life he was given. And that refusal, practiced every single morning for 19 years, made him one of the most present, purposeful, and fully alive human beings in recorded history. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. If this changed how you think about death and time, subscribe for more ancient wisdom that still works today. Drop a comment telling me what you'd do differently if today were your last. I read every single one.